Start children off on the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn from it. Father, open their eyes that they may see wonders from your Torah. Listen, children, to your father's instruction, and do not forsake your mother's teaching, for they are a fair wreath on your head and chains to adorn your neck. For I know the plans I have for you, declares Jehovah, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Children, may you flee the evil desires of youth and pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace, along with those who call on Jehovah out of a pure heart. Finally, children, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things to protect your mind and soul from Hasatan, that you may be blessed beyond measure. Sons, may you grow to be men of righteousness, like trees whose roots run deep in life, giving water. May you be in the Torah of Jehovah. Daughters, may you come to be courageous women and capable wives, whose values are far worth beyond rubies, guiding those in your care in spirit and Torah. Amen. You will remain standing for the Messiah prayer. Blessed are you, Yehovah, who has given us the way of salvation in Messiah Yehoshua. He healed the sick and raised the dead. The multitudes of our people sought his touch. How the children sought him, the lepers he touched and made clean. Despised and rejected, acquainted with grief, he bore the sins of Israel. Our iniquities were laid upon our king. The sins of this world became his burden to bear. He rose from the dead and life everlasting. Praise be to his name. We are in him. His spirit empowers. New life is ours, and with joy and peace. Baruch atah Yehovah Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu et deret HaYeshua b'Mashiach Yehoshua Omein. Blessed are you, Yehovah our Elohim, King of the universe, who has given us the way of salvation in Messiah Yehoshua. Amen. A blessing of the Shema. Baruch atah Yehovah Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer or uvarei chosei osei shalom uvarei ra. Blessed are you, Yehovah our Elohim, King of the universe, who forms light and creates darkness, makes peace and creates evil. We're going to let Elias sing the Shema since it is his birthday today.
Shema Israel, Yehovah Eloheinu, Yehovah Echad, Baruch Shem Kevo, Malkuto, Leolam, Bayed. Hear Israel, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh is one. Blessed is his name of his one kingdom. Baruch atah Eleka Eloheka, Kol Navaka, Kol Nashaka, Kol Elodeka, Ayun Azarim, Alel, Asher, Elohim, Anagata, Ayun Abdeleka, Medina Tan Balaleka, Medina Dana Shifka, Beteka, Bader, Ushaka Tam Lukameka, by Tom Leo Abedeka, by Yunaka, and you Tamam Abasuko, Bekeka, and Veshabaka, and you should love Elohim with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might, and have these words that are made you this day be upon your heart, and you shall teach them diligently to your children, and speak to them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you retire and when you rise, when you shall bind them for the sign upon your hand, and with the bread gladness within their hearts. And you shall write them on the doorposts of their house and upon their gates. And you shall love your neighbor as yourself.
Join us for praise and worship.
Elohim lanu makasebaos, Israel bezaron, Nisameod. 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 Adonai Sabaoth imanu, Niskav lanu Elohei Yaakov. Selah, Selah. Adonai Sabaoth imanu, Niskav lanu Elohei Yaakov. Selah, Selah, Selah. Israel Metzaron, Nisameod. Elohim lanu makasebaos, Israel Metzaron, Nisameod. Elohim lanu makasebaos, Israel Metzaron, Nisameod. Elohim lanu makasebaos, Israel Metzaron, Nisameod. Israel Metzaron, Nisameod. Israel Metzaron, Nisameod. Can you hear it? Thunder in the distance when we worship. The Lion of Judah roars. Strongholds crumble all around us in the presence of Yahweh. There'll be victory in the camp at the shout of El Shaddai. every enemy will flee. From the fire in his eyes, every captive will be free. In this year of Jubilee, when we hear the shout of El Shaddai, can you hear it? Thunder in the distance when we worship, the Lion of Judah roars. Strongholds crumble all around us in the presence of the Lord. There'll be victory in the camp at the shout of El Shaddai. Every enemy will flee from the fire in his eyes. Every captive will be free in this year of Jubilee, when we hear the shout of El Shaddai. In your name, powers of darkness tremble. Jericho tumbles to the ground. In your name, chains of death are broken. Lord of hosts, pour your powers out. We have overcome by the name and the blood of the Lamb of God. Every wall must fall, every knee will bow to the Lord of all. In your name, every curse is broken, sin and death underneath your feet. In your name, we will bow before you. Every tribe and every tongue will sing. There'll be victory in the camp at the shout of El Shaddai. Every enemy will flee from the fire in his eyes. Every captive will be free in this year of Jubilee, when we hear the shout of El Shaddai. When we hear the shout of El Shaddai. When we hear the shout of El Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Holy, holy is he. Sing a new song to him who sits on heaven's mercy seat. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Holy, holy is he. Sing a new song to him who sits on heaven's mercy seat. Holy, holy, holy.
to your resting place with all your power and might. As we stand here clothed with your righteousness, we will sing and dance for joy. For you have chosen Zion as a place for you to dwell. We will run, we will run, we will run to God. We will sound the alarm. Salvation has come. We will dance, we will praise, we will worship His name, and all will bow before the glory of to Abraham, your covenant will stand, and on your throne to Jerusalem, you provided a land, for you have chosen Zion to make your glory known. We will run to the mountain of God. We will sound the alarm. Salvation has come. We will dance, we will praise, we will worship His name, and all will bow before the glory. We will run to the mountain of God. We will sound the alarm. Salvation has come. We will dance, we will praise, we will worship His name, and all will bow before the glory of God. Hodula Adonai Kitov, 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 Hodula Adonai Kitov. We will run to the mountain of God. We will sound the alarm. Salvation has come. We will dance, we will praise, we will worship His name, and all will bow before the glory. We will run to the mountain of God. We will sound the alarm. Salvation has come. We will dance, we will praise, we will worship His name, and all will bow before the glory. All will bow before the glory. All will bow before the glory of God. באמונה שלמה בביאה המשיח, אני מאמין, אני מאמין, אני מאמין, באמונה שלמה בביאה המשיח, אני מאמין, משיח, 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 לה 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 לה, משיח, 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 לה 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 לה, משיח, 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 לה 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 לה, משיח, 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 לה 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 לה. אני מאמין באמונה שלמה בביאה המשיח, אני מאמין, אני
we thank you so much for this service and the opportunity to worship you in song. And we pray that you will be blessed by it. In Yeshua's name we pray. Amen.
Just to get a little bit out of the norm. We never do that here at Bethlehem, you know. But I think it's good to remember that this past week was the anniversary of the liberation of the camp of Auschwitz in Poland. And as we remember our Jewish brothers and sisters, not only through that camp, but throughout history, what they have gone through. And as beautiful and as awesome as the song Anima Amin is, it's always to remember that it has been a blessing that has been throughout Judaism for years. But the music to it, it was put by one of the Jewish rabbis that was going to the train while they were going through the death camp. And that was the song that they were singing while they were going to the gas chambers. So it's, I guess, something that we need to, for sure, remember and know what they have to go through, because what the song said is, like, I believe that the Mashiach will come, and that was their hope, that they knew that one day they will see the Mashiach. So it's a good reminder of what happened in our history, and as we say, never again. Never again. As we continue with the Torah service right now, there is to be one Torah for the native born and for the stranger who sojourns among you. Numbers chapter 15, 16. If you join me in the Ein Kamocha. Ein Kamocha v'Ein Yehovah v'Yen Kemashecha, Machucha Machu Kol Olamin, Umen Shavtecha, Bechodor Vador, Yehovah HaMelech, Yehovah HaMalach, Yehovah Yimloch, Leolam Vayet, Yehovah Yos Le'amo Yitein, Yehovah Yivarech, Edamo Shalom. There is none like you among their gods, Jehovah, and there is nothing like your works. Your kingdom is a kingdom throughout all generations, and your dominion is forever. Yehovah reigns, Yehovah has reigned, Yehovah will reign forever and ever. Yehovah will give strength to his people, and Yehovah will bless his people with peace. V'hivin so ha'aron. V'hivin so ha'aron. Ve'omer Moshe. Kuma Yehovah. Ve'yavusu oivecha. Ve'yanusu mesanecha. Mepanecha. Ki mision Tezeh Torah, Ki Mizion, Tezeh Torah, Udevar Yehovah, Mi'Yerushalayim, Baruch Shenatan, Torah HaTorah, Baruch Shenatan, Torah HaTorah, Le'amo Israel, B'yadushu Avto. When the ark will travel, Moshe will say, Arise, Jehovah, and let your enemies be scattered,
and let those that hate you flee from you.
For Zion, and the words of Jehovah from Jerusalem. Blessed is he who gave the Torah to his people Israel with his holiness.
הנה התורה אשר שם משה, הנה התורה דבר יהוה, יש לנו תורה אשר שם משה, יש לנו תורה דבר יהוה, הנה התורה, הנה ישוע, הנה הוא בא דבר קיים, הנה התורה, הנה ישוע, הנה הוא בא דבר קיים, הנה הוא בא. נגיב אהבה, נגיב אהבה, נבש בך אהבה, נגיב אהבה, נגיב אהבה, נגיב נבש בך אהבה נרננה, אהבה נרננה, אהבה נרננה בנש בך, אהבה נרננה, אהבה נרננה, אהבה נרננה בנש בך. Urakim, Lech Sameach, Urakim, Lech Sameach, Urakim, Lech Sameach, Urakim, Lech Sameach, Urakim, Urakim, Lech Sameach. Hey! Hava, Nagila, Hava, Nagila, Hava, Nagila, Venesh Mekha. Hava, Nagila, Hava, Nagila, Hava, Nagila, Venesh Mekha. Hava, Naranina, Hava, Naranina, Hava, Naranina, Venesh Mekha. Hava, Naranina, Hava, Naranina, Hava, Naranina, Venesh Mekha. Urakim, Urakim, Lech Sameach, Urakim, Lech Sameach, Urakim, Lech Sameach, Urakim, Lech Sameach, Urakim. Urakim, Berev
May the Father of compassion have mercy on the nation that is born by him. And may he remember the covenant of the spiritually mighty. May he rescue our souls from bad times and upright the evil inclination to leave those born by him. Graciously make us an eternal remnant and fulfill our requests in good measure for salvation and mercy. May he help, shield, and save all who take refuge in him. Now let us respond. All of you ascribe greatness to our Elohim and give honor to the Torah. Arise, Dennis Ben Dan, an Israelite, and come to the Bima to read from the Torah. Blessed is he who gave the Torah to his people Israel in his holiness.
Baruch Yehovah Havarak.
Baruch Yehovah Hamorad Leolam Vaed.
Baruch atah Yehovah Eloheinu melech haolam Asher Bakar Banu Miko Hamim, Benatan Lenu Et Torah Tod, Baruch Atah Yehovah.
Noting HaTorah.
Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Yehovah our Elohim, King of the universe, who has chosen us from all peoples and given us his Torah. Blessed are you, Yehovah, giver of the Torah. All right, today's reading is going to be Shemot, or Exodus 12:43 through 13:14, and the Maftir will be 13:15 through 16. It says, Adonai said to Moshe and Aharon, "This is the regulation for the Pesach lamb. No foreigner is to eat it. But if anyone has a slave he bought for money, when you have circumcised him, he may eat it. Neither a traveler nor a hired servant may eat it. It is to be eaten in one house. You are not to take any of the meat outside the house, and you are not to break any of its bones. The whole community of Israel is to keep it. If a foreigner staying with you wants to observe Adonai's Pesach, all his males must be circumcised. Then he may take part and observe it. He will be like a citizen of the land, but no uncircumcised person is to eat it. The same teaching is to apply equally to the citizen and to the foreigner living among you." All the people of Israel did just as Adonai had ordered Moshe and Aharon, and on that very day Adonai brought the people of Israel out of the land of Egypt by their divisions. Adonai said to Moshe, "Set aside for me all the firstborn, whatever is first from the womb among the people of Israel, both of humans and of animals, belongs to me." Moshe said to the people, "Remember this day on which you left Egypt, the abode of slavery, because Adonai, by the strength of his hand, has brought you out of this place. Do not eat chametz. You are to leave nothing. You are leaving today in the month of Aviv, when Adonai brings you into the land of Canaan, Hittite, Amorite, Hivite, and Jebusite, which he swore to your ancestors to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey. You are to observe this ceremony in this month. For 7 days you are to eat matzah, and on the seventh day is to be a festival for Adonai. Matzah is to be eaten throughout the 7 days. Neither chametz nor leavening agents are to be seen with you throughout your territory. On that day you are to tell your son, 'It is because of what Adonai did for me when I left Egypt.' Moreover, it will serve you as a sign on your hand and remember between your eyes, so that Adonai's Torah may be on your lips. Because with a strong hand Adonai brought you out of Egypt. Therefore you are to observe this regulation at its proper time year after year, when Adonai brings you into the land of Canaan, as he swore to you and your ancestors, and gives it to you. You are to set it apart for Adonai. Everything that is first from the womb, every firstborn male animal will belong to Adonai. Every firstborn from a donkey you are to redeem with a lamb. But if you choose not to redeem it, you must break its neck. But from people, you are to remember every firstborn son." In the Maftir, when at some future time your son asks you, "What is this?" then say to him, "With a strong hand Adonai brought us out of Egypt, out of the abode of slavery. When Pharaoh was unwilling to let us go, Adonai killed all the firstborn males in the land of Egypt, both the firstborn of the humans and the firstborn of the animals. This is why I sacrifice to Adonai any male that is first from the womb of any animal, but all the firstborn of my sons I redeem. This will serve as a sign on your hand and for the front of your headband around your forehead, that with a strong hand Adonai brought us out of Egypt." Amen. The closing Torah blessing. Baruch atah Yehovah Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torot emet v'kaheyu olam natah b'kaneinu. See, when you get tongue-tied, it just keeps going. Sorry about that, y'all. Baruch atah Yehovah Noten HaTorah. Blessed are you, Yehovah our Elohim, King of the universe, who has given us the Torah of truth and has planted eternal life in our midst. Blessed are you, Yehovah, giver of the Torah.
He who blessed our forefathers Abraham, Yitzchak, and Jacob, may he bless Dennis Ben Dan, because he has come up to read from the Torah in honor of Yehovah and his word. As a reward for this, may the Holy One, blessed is he, protect him and rescue him from every trouble and distress, from every plague and illness, and may he send blessing and prosperity in his every endeavor, together with all Israel, his brethren. Now let us respond. If you join us for the V'Zo HaTorah. V'Zo HaTorah Asher Sam Moshe Livnei B'nei Israel Apei Yehovah Ve'yam Moshe. And this is the Torah that Moshe placed with the children of Israel at the command of Yehovah through Moshe's hand. Return, O Yehovah, to the countless thousand of Israel. Amen. You may be seated. Now I would like to call Yochanan Ben Levi to read from the Haftorah portion. If you join me for the Haftorah, for the opening Haftorah blessing. Baruch atah Yehovah Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar bimin tovin verasav ad Ibrahim הנאמרים באמת. ברוך אתה יהוה הבוקר בתורה ומשה עבדו ומישראל עמו ובנביאי האמת והצדק. Blessed are you, Yehovah, our Elohim, King of the universe, who has selected good prophets and was pleased with their words which were spoken truthfully. Blessed are you, Yehovah, who chooses the Torah, your servant Moshe, your people Israel, and prophet of truth and righteousness.
We're reading today from Jeremiah, chapter 46, verses 13 through 28. The word which Jehovah spoke to Jeremiah the prophet about the coming of Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, to smite the land of Egypt. Declare in Egypt, and let it be heard in Migdol, let it be heard in Noph and Taphanes. Say, stand fast and be prepared, for a sword shall devour all around you. Why were your strong ones swept away? They did not stand because Jehovah drove them away. He made many stumble. Indeed, they fell over each other and said, Arise, let us go back to our own people and to the land of our birth, away from the oppressing sword. There they cried, Pharaoh, sovereign Egypt, is but a noise. He has let the appointed time pass by. As I live, declares the sovereign, whose name is Jehovah of hosts, for as Tabor is among the mountains, and as Carmel by the sea, he shall overcome. O you daughter dwelling in Egypt, prepare yourself to go into exile, for Noph shall become a waste and a ruin, and be burned without inhabitant. Egypt is like a very pretty heifer, but destruction comes. It comes from the north. Her hired ones too, in her midst, are like fattened calves, for they too shall turn. They shall flee away together. They shall not stand, for the day of their calamity has come upon them, the time of their punishment. Its sound moves along like a serpent, for they move on like an army and come against her with axes like woodcutters. They shall cut down her forest, declares Jehovah. For it is not searched, because they are more numerous than locusts, and without number. The daughter of Egypt shall be put to shame. She shall be given into the land of the people of the north. Yehovah of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, has said, See, I bring punishment on Ammon of No, and on Pharaoh, and on Egypt, and on their mighty ones, and on their sovereigns, and on Pharaoh, and on those trusting in him. And I shall give them into the hand of those who seek their lives, into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, and into the hand of his servants. And afterward it shall be inhabited as in the days of old, declares Jehovah. But as for you, do not fear, O my servant Jacob, and do not be discouraged, O Israel. For look, I am saving you from afar, and your descendants from the land of their captivity. And Jacob shall return, and shall have rest, and be at ease, with no one disturbing. Do not fear, O Jacob my servant, declares Jehovah, for I am with you. Though I make a complete end of all the Gentiles to which I have driven you, yet I do not make a complete end of you. But I shall reprove you in right ruling, by no means leave you unpunished.
Closing Haftarah blessing. Baruch atah Yehovah Eloheinu melech haolam sor kol haolamim sadeh v'chol hadorot ha'el haneman haomer ve'oseh hadavar umkayam shekol devaraha emet v'tzedek neman atah hu Yehovah Eloheinu v'nemarin devarecha V'davacha mivarecha akor lo yashurekam ki el al nemelech neman v'rachamang ata baruch ata Yehovah ha'el haneman v'chol devaraha. Blessed are you, Yehovah our Elohim, King of the universe, Rock of all eternities, faithful in all generations, who says and does, who speaks and makes it come to pass, all whose words are truth and righteous. Faithful are you, Yehovah, and faithful are your words, for no one word of yours is turned back unfulfilled. For you are a faithful El and King. Blessed are you, Yehovah, the Elohim who is faithful in all his word. He who blessed our forefathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Jacob, may he bless Jochanan ben Levi, because he has come up to read from the Haftorah. As a reward for this, may the Holy One, the Father of our Messiah, blessed is he, protect him and rescue him from every illness, and may he send blessing and success in his every endeavor, together with all Israel, his brethren. Now let us respond. Amen. Now I would like to call Saul ben Abraham to come and read from the second writings. If you join us for the opening blessing of the second writings. Baruch atah Yehovah Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Mashiach Yehoshua behaketuvim shel hatalmidim. Baruch atah Yehovah noten habrich haTorah. Blessed are you, Yehovah our Elohim, King of the universe, who has given us Messiah Yehoshua and the writings of the Talmudim. Blessed are you, Yehovah, giver of the covenant of the Torah.
From the second writings, we are going to read Romans 15 through 29. For he said to Moshe, I will have mercy on whomever I will have mercy, and I will pity whoever I will pity. So then, it is not within reach of the one willing, nor within reach of the one who strives, but it is within reach of the merciful Elohim. For the scripture says to Pharaoh, for this is very purpose I raised you up, so that I might display my power in you, so that my name might be publicized in all the earth. So then, he has mercy on whom he pleases, and he hardens whom he pleases. Perhaps you will say, why does he yet find fault? For who can resist his will? Rather, O man, who are you to question against Elohim? Shall the thing formed to say to the one forming it, why did you make this? Or does not the potter have authority over the clay, out of the one lump to make one vessel to honor and one to dishonor? But if Elohim, desiring to demonstrate his wrath, and to make his power known, endured in much long-suffering vessels of wrath, having been fitted out for destruction, but he poured out his mercy on the vessels of favor, which before prepared for the glory of Elohim, whom he also called, not only us of Jews, but also out of the nations. As he also says in Hosea, I will call those not my people, and those not beloved, beloved. And it shall be in the place where it was said to them, you are not my people. There they will be called sons of the living Elohim. But Isaiah cries out on behalf of Israel, if the number of the sons of Israel be as the sands of the sea, only a remnant will be saved. For he is bringing the matter to an end, and having been cut short in righteousness, because Yahweh will do a thing cut short on the earth. And Isaiah has said before, if Yahweh of hosts had not shown favor to us with a remnant, we should have become as Sodom, and we should have become as Gomorrah.
Closing blessing for the second writings. Baruch atah Yehovah Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu hadevar hamet v'chayei olam atah v'tochenu. Baruch atah Yehovah asher natan lanu Mashiach Yehoshua v'haketuvim hatalmidim. Blessed are you, Yehovah our Elohim, King of the universe, who has given us the word of truth and has planted eternal life in our midst. Blessed are you, Yehovah, who has given us Messiah and the writings of the Talmudim. He who blessed our forefathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Jacob, may he bless Saul ben Abraham, because he has come up to read from the second writings in honor of Messiah and his teachings. As a reward for this, may the Holy One, the Father of our Messiah, blessed is he, protect him and rescue him from every trouble and distress, from every plague and illness, and may he send blessing and success in his every endeavor, together with all Israel, his brethren. Now let us respond. Thank you, Saul. Will you please stand as we return the Torah to the ark with the Eschayinhi. Eschayinhi למחזיקים בה ותוכי עמיה אושר דרכיה דרכי נועם ותולדותיך שלום. השיבנו יהובה עליך ונשובה חדש חדש ימינו חדש ימינו כקדם. It is a tree of life to those who and those who support it are praiseworthy. Its ways are the ways of the pleasantness, and all its paths are peace. Bring us back, Yehovah, to you, and we shall come. Renew our days as of all. This concludes the Torah service. You may be seated.
If you guys want to remember Bill, his mother is just really close to passing, so he's leaving right now to go spend some more time with her. And we certainly want to pray for the family's comfort and her comfort most of all. I mean, it's a real difficult time. So, having said that, Shabbat Shalom. We're in Parsha Bo, chapter 10 through chapter 13, 16. Have you guys looked at the Hebrew? Has anybody tried to understand what it means? They translate our scriptures, the flame portion that we use for Torah, they have it as enter. Let's see, I got it here. Which means to come in, to come, or to go in. So a lot of times it's just translated as go, but it's actually referring to an entering process. And when you enter something, you can come in or you can go in. So what's the difference between going in and coming in? And it has to do with Yahovah, who is in there. He's telling Moshe to go into, or to come into Pharaoh, actually, not to go. And by saying that, he's saying he's going to be there. He's going to receive Moshe too. He's already been there working on Pharaoh and Pharaoh's heart. We know this is after 7 plagues now. and this is starting the 8th plague. What was that, Dennis? Yeah. So the whole point of these plagues, it says, was to show my signs, and that's the Hebrew word oath, which means a mark for communication. And this is to show it to Pharaoh and Pharaoh's servants. He's going to show it before them. What is a sign of our covenant with Yahovah? Can anybody name one? Yep, today, the Sabbath is a sign. And the children of Israel shall guard the Sabbath, to perform the Sabbath throughout their generation as an everlasting covenant between me and the children of Israel. It is a sign forever. For in 6 days Yahovah made the heaven and the earth, and on the 7th day he rested and was refreshed. Do we have another sign of the covenant? Who? What did he say? Because I didn't hear. Oh, well, actually that one's going to come up. Circumcision. This is my covenant which you guard between me and you and your seed after you. Every male child among you is to be circumcised, and you shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall become a sign of the covenant between me and you. So these are personal signs between the Father and his people. But he did, Joel was right. Is there another covenant for a relationship between man and El? And it is. He says, the rainbow in Genesis 9. And Elohim said, this is the sign of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living being that is with you for all generations to come. I shall set my rainbow in the cloud, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. So that's not directly between him and his people, but it is a sign of a covenant. And what's that represent? He's never going to flood the earth again, which if you read in Peter is real interesting because he's going to do the opposite. Wendy? That was the first one. Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. Marie? Sure. Yeah. There's going to be evidences of the behavior we choose. This is signs that he gave just to the people, and then that's actually, I guess, as a nation, because that's something that makes all Israel become Israel. We heard his voice, and we agree to the covenant at Mount Sinai. But these plagues were a sign for Pharaoh and his servants. And then, so was Elohim going to be surprised that Pharaoh wasn't surrendering? No, and we know this because earlier we were told back with Moshe at the burning bush that he would react this way. Clicker's being a little slow today. There we go. Let's check. Okay. But I know that the sovereign of Mitzrayim is not going to let you go, not even by a strong hand. And that was back in Exodus 3:19. And then in 4:21, and Yahovah said to Moshe, as you go back to Mitzrayim, see that you do all those wonders before Pharaoh, which I have put in your hand. But I'm going to strengthen his heart so that he does not let the people go. And we know when you study this out, the first 5 plagues, Pharaoh strengthened his own heart. And the idea is that he had put it in his mind to do this, to not let the people go. So it wasn't that the father was not letting him have a free choice. He was strengthening the decision he had already made in 6 and I forget the other one. There's 3 more times where the father strengthens Pharaoh's heart. But it's the decision, and he'll do that. He will allow us to, our free will, to make the decisions we want to make. And then he's going to go ahead and help you make that decision. You're on this path, but we can repent. So this covenant and these signs, it's all about the firstborn son. Because he says, this is fun today. Okay, it's about the firstborn son. And what had Pharaoh done to Yahovah's firstborn son, Israel? And then we see that in 1:22 of Exodus, Shemoth. And Pharaoh commanded all his people, saying, throw every son which is born into the river, and keep alive every daughter. So he was trying to kill the firstborn son of Israel, all the male children. So Happy, I believe is how you pronounce it, it's the Egyptian god of the Nile. So the rich deposits after the flooding were seen as a sign of fertility. Yahovah was showing this source of life for the Egyptians, which was used to destroy the life of the firstborn, was conquered. So all these plagues, we know when you study this out too, they're to attack Egyptian gods. There's a god that this creation, this power that they deemed and named it a god, the Father is just wiping them out and showing them that it's nonsense and he's really in control. But so that he wanted to throw the children in the river, and he conquered the god of the river. Then the first plague of blood is found in Shemot 7:17 to 25. So once Pharaoh's magicians had duplicated what Yahovah had done through Moshe and Aaron, we are told, and the heart of Pharaoh was strengthened, and he did not listen to them, and his heart was not moved by this either. So here's Pharaoh strengthening his own heart. So the second plague of frogs, we're skipping stuff. Batteries. I should just be sitting in back clicking it. We'll just keep going. So the second plague of frogs makes more sense when we connect what the Egyptians knew and the actions of Pharaoh. I believe that one's pronounced Heket. Was depicted with a frog head and was an Egyptian goddess of fertility and childbirth. What else did Pharaoh try and do to the children of Israel? Another way he tried to kill them? Yep, the birthing stool and the midwives. When you deliver the Hebrew women and see them on the birth stools, if it is a son, then you shall put him to death. But if it is a daughter, then she shall live. So here again, Pharaoh had tried to use the midwives, a direct relation to childbirth, to kill the firstborn again. So it wasn't just a plague of blood in the water, and it wasn't just a plague of frogs. It was Egyptian gods that represented this fertility, that represented life to the Egyptians, that he was conquering. So the second plague is in Shemot 8. This plague brought frogs into the land and used them to block any daily activity of the Egyptians. Once again, Pharaoh's magicians duplicated the plague, and when relief from the plague came, Pharaoh hardened his heart and did not listen. These were the first two plagues he was warned about, but the third came with no warning. And so there's a pattern we end up seeing. 1 and 2 are warned, 3 no warning. 4 and 5 there's a warning, 6 no warning. 7 and 8 were a warning, and 9 no warning. And then we know 10, I think I get into it later, but the death of the firstborn, he was told that right off the bat, that he was going to kill his firstborn son if he didn't let Israel go. So he was warned about that too. So in Exodus 10:2 says, and that you relate, this is just continuing with the Torah portion here. So that's the first thing, is Pharaoh is given these signs. We kind of backed up and went over some of the signs. And I show these signs of mine before him, and that you relate in the hearing of your son and your son's son what I have done in Mitzrayim, and my signs which I have done among them, and you shall know that I am Yahovah. And we know that when things are repeated, it's to get our attention, so we really pay attention to something. So he's telling us that what he did in Mitzrayim, we're to pass it on through our generations, to pass on to the children. Just if one generation skipped repeating this story, the story would be wiped out. That's all it would take, is one generation to not do what they were told. I think that's the next one. Then in Exodus 12, so this is part of the repetition, and you shall guard this word as a law for you and your sons forever. And it shall be when you come to the land which Yahovah gives you as he promised, that you shall guard this service. And it shall be when the children say to you, what does this service mean to you? Then you shall say, it is the Pesach slaughtering of Yahovah, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Mitzrayim, when he smote the Mitzrites and delivered our household. So he's repeating it, so we know he means that it's important to him. Then he's telling us, giving us some more detail about what we're actually supposed to say. Then in Exodus 13:14, and it shall be when your son asks you in the time to come, saying, what is this? Then you shall say to him, by strength of hand, Yahovah brought us out of Mitzrayim, out of the house of bondage. is sticking on me. Sorry, guys. That was, I think I have a couple repeated. But then 13, 8 through 10, that should have been first. And you shall inform your son in that day, saying, it is because of what Yahovah did for me when I came up from Mitzrayim, and it shall be as a sign to you on your hand and as a reminder between your eyes that the Torah of Yahovah is to be in your mouth. For with a strong hand Yahovah has brought you out of Mitzrayim. So it says it in 10:2, in 12, and I thought I had it twice in 13. 13, 14. I guess, here's the one. Yeah, 10:2, 12, 24 through 27, 13:8, and then 13, 14. Point is, it goes on to say it 4 times. So it must be really important that he's telling it to us 4 times. So the 4 times we were told to relate the story of the Exodus. So symbolically, when we do the Passover, Seder, when a child asks the 4 questions, this is what's fulfilled for this. It's actually answered. That's why there's 4 questions from the child. This is where they get the 4 questions from. And it's to answer the child regarding why this night, the Pesach, is different from all other nights. He wants us to know how special this is. So one of the questions is, why matzah? Why do we eat unleavened bread this night and we eat leavened bread all other nights? Why bitter herbs and no other vegetables? Why do we dip twice? And why do we eat reclining? So if anybody, has anybody not been through a Passover Seder here? You weren't, and you weren't, okay. So these are, the Seder actually means order, and so it's the order of the Passover service, that there's a system they've developed, and you go through, and you basically relive the story of the Exodus with these stories and with the food that's symbolically on the plate, and the actions we do and what we talk about. But these 4 questions are also associated with 4 personalities of children, and it's a metaphor for 4 attitudes towards tradition. They call one a taught child, or it's taught as a wise child, a thoughtless child, a simple child, and one who doesn't know what to ask. So a lot of times I think coming into this, we learn about a lot of rabbinic traditions, or maybe we just hear about them, and it's real easy to kind of brush off. But they put a lot of thought and knowledge into why they teach what they do, and it's always good to at least understand where they're coming from, understand the meaning behind it. Just know the difference if they're saying it's you have to do this, or it's a sin if you don't do this. If it doesn't line up with the Father's word, it's a very good suggestion. It's not a sin. The Father is who we obey consistently. So this is the story of the Pesach and our deliverance from Mitzrayim that we are commanded to tell and retell to our children and our children's children. It is law we and our sons are to guard forever. Like I said, if one generation didn't do this, we wouldn't have this story anymore. Look how long it's been since the Pesach, and look at how these traditions, even though there's an order to it, and even though it's got a system that people follow, there's a reason why we do things in an order. When you choose a behavior and repeat that behavior, like even those, the Moedim and the times of our Father, these set-apart times, they are in a repetition, so over and over and over. That's how you train a child. So what are some of the specific laws for the Passover? Since this is telling us what to do, and we have to tell our children this, and there is a Passover Seder, but there's requirements. It is a night of watches unto Yahovah for all the children of Israel throughout our generations. I mean, we are really supposed to identify this, and I am Israel. I am Israel. You adopt this, you become it, you live it. These become your people. If you're not grafting into this, then you're not part of the children of Israel. You really have to personally take on this story and live what these people went through and take it to heart. The idea of this night of watches is from the Hebrew Shimmurim, and it means something to be guarded and observed throughout the night. So that's what he calls the night of Passover. Especially that first time, they were watching for that death angel that was they had to be obedient, put the blood on the doorpost with the hyssop, and watch for the angel to pass over, the death angel. So it says, no son of a stranger is to eat of it. Son of a stranger is from Ben is son, and no Cree is stranger. And it means the son of a pagan or a foreigner who is not part of Israel. So somebody who has no intention of grafting in, of joining the covenant, of upholding the covenant, is not supposed to eat of the Passover lamb. It is just for Israel. This is really, truly an event where Israel became Israel. Those children of Israel, that's when they became identified as the nation of Israel. Remember that first commandment that is about the first month, the Aviv, is the beginning of months for you. That's the first commandment given communally to everyone. It says, any servant that has been purchased can eat of it once he is circumcised. So again, there's the sign of covenant. There's your commitment. Even if you're a servant, but you've been bought in, if you're circumcised, you are considered part of it, part of the household, part of the family. So a sojourner, and this word is toshav, and that's one living in the land who has not joined himself to Israel, or a hired worker, and that's sakir, does not eat of it. Again, a ger is a stranger that doesn't have any part of Israel, and a toshav is someone who might be in Israel, in the land of Israel, but they're just passing through. They really don't have any intention of becoming part of Israel. It says it's to be eaten in one house. It says none of the flesh is to be taken outside of the house, nor are we to break a bone of it. And this is specifically about the lamb. And all the congregation of Israel is to perform the Pesach. Again, this is a commitment. This is something new. Now the firstborn son, Israel, the firstborn, is a communal thing. It's from the family of Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov, and we have all become part of it. That's why it's really important to congregate together, to do what the Father says as a community as a whole, to be part of his family. He has rules for all of us. It's for all to obey. So it says, when a stranger, and this is the word ger. Did I say that wrong before? It was goy. It was goy was of the nations. Ger is the stranger grafting in. Wonder if I had it typed wrong. So my apologies. Goy is of the nations. When a stranger, a ger, is one who is grafting into Israel, sojourns with and performs the Pesach, he and all his males are to be circumcised. So again, there's the sign of the covenant. When you want to join in, circumcision is part of the deal. And he shall be as a native of the land. And that's in 1248. And it says, no uncircumcised person shall eat of it. So it's really important. I mean, when we have guests who show up at the Passover, we try to make the statement and separate the idea of what you are committing to. Because it's not based on our opinion, it's based on what the Father expects his people to behave at and do. If we just let somebody join in and partake of the covenant, but they have no intention of following any of the rules, it's a pretty serious consequences according to how the Father words it. And then it says there's to be one Torah for the native born and for the stranger who sojourns among you. And that's that word ger again. So there is just one Torah. But the point is there's one family. We join the family. Remember, the Messiah came only for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Anyone can be lost, but he's helping you identify how to become unlost. You become part of the house of Israel. Learn their ways, learn what they do, and it's written here. It's not rabbinic authority, but it is what he says his people are supposed to behave at. The authority was given, and they put up a lot of good reasons. Like I said, without the Sidurs, if you think of a Sidur, which is a prayer book, it also means an order of prayers. It's very similar to the Pesach, Seder, Sidur. It's very similar. But it still just means an order, and there's a lot of teaching and learning that can go on with it. One of the common saying is, how do you eat chicken? Eat the meat, spit out the bones. So know the difference. Know what you're observing for all you vegans out there. So these are the commandments of Yahovah we're to follow, not adding to or taking away from any of them. And we know later in Deuteronomy it repeats it twice, not to add to or not to take away from his word. So Pharaoh, who looked at these children of Israel, saw slaves. He reduced the value of the people to commodity. He didn't accept them for what they were, but only what they could do for him. It was a workforce, and then what they could start to do for him was overpower him, and that's what scared him. That's what made him want to diminish them and reduce their numbers and continue to keep them under his thumb and remain more powerful than they were. So this in turn made Pharaoh a slave to his own desire. So don't let your own desire cloud your vision, and by that I mean the heart. Remember, the heart, it says a lot about a person's heart. We think the heart is a good thing. According to what the Father says, our desires in our heart are not what we should be following. This is why Jeremiah, where we have to get rid of the stony heart and put a fleshly heart in its place. And he helps do this. So our choice to obey, because we are saved by the blood of our Messiah, which is the testimony, and guard the commands of Yahovah, puts us in the position of being a light to those who are still in slavery. The whole idea of accepting what the Messiah did on our behalf, accepting his actions, our belief system is shown by how we behave. We're going to not partake of the Passover unless we've obeyed what the Father instructed. We're going to honor his Sabbath the way he instructs it to be honored. All these things are things that we can show the nations around us. So Pharaoh didn't understand, and he had it wrong on who the slaves were. Today, when people look at us and want to know why have you gone back under the law, they see slaves, but they don't understand the freedom that's in it and how they're slaves to themselves and slaves to their own desires. So just like the children of Israel, who Yahovah already knew as his firstborn, they had to learn that they were his. This whole process of showing his signs and wonders is what it's described as with these things. It was to show his power, to show who he was. Remember, he had this covenant that he was bringing to fruition. He promised Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Abraham was going to be a father of nations. And now look at how many people are coming out of Egypt. And also, remember, there is the mixed multitude. Yeah, Arev Rav, the mixed multitude, come up out of there with them too. It is many nations that are joining this family. So he didn't teach them that they were his children by immediately removing them from slavery. What good would that have done? They had to learn it for themselves. He gave them the time and the signs so that they could remove this slavery from themselves. The whole idea of coming out of the world for us today, yeah, he could show up and snap his fingers and fix everything for us, but if we carry our idols, if we carry our desires, what's in our heart, the things that we worship, if they're not of the Father, and that's what we're following and that's what we're bowing down to, then it's good. He understands that there's a time period where we need to learn to let go of that and to learn how to worship him. Remember, all this, there already was obedience with the blood on the doorposts and the penalty for not following. But after that, they were free. They were freed from slaves. Now there's the journey to Mount Sinai. And when we actually hear his voice and have the commands given to us, that's when you really put it to heart the actions of how you're supposed to behave, of how we know we are his people. The freedom in knowing of how to behave for the Father, I remember being in the world and trying to understand what the church was teaching and just wondering, how do you know you're saved? They talk about it. It sounds wonderful, but how do you know? Well, I know because he says do this, don't do that. If I'm doing stuff on the don't list, those are curses that are going to follow. If I'm doing stuff on the do list, he says there's blessings that are going to follow. It really is freeing and opens up his heart to us. I mean, that's the whole point. The word given at Mount Sinai is the love of the Father, and it is the living Messiah. That is who we follow. So a gift, the freedom, is granted, but it takes your own effort to sustain it, and that's having the testimony and guarding the commands. Loving this thing. So in Leviticus 23, it talks about the Passover and unleavened bread. So this is what is given. I kind of skimmed over that. It speaks of the 7 days of unleavened bread here, and we know in Leviticus 23 it's laid out specifically. But it says, in the first new moon, on the 14th day of the new moon, and it actually just says, in the first new, on the 14th day of the new. The moon is implied. That's the new month, the Hodesh. But between the evenings is the Pesach to Yahovah. So that Pesach is literally the slaughtering of the Passover lamb at that time between the evenings. At the start of the 15th day in that evening, the 15th is the festival of Matzah, the festival of unleavened breads. Hebrew studiers in here? Oat. It's plural, right? The oat on the end, yeah. So it's not a singular, and so it's not unleavened bread. It's actually unleavened breads. I just noticed that this morning, put that in there, but it still sounds weird to my ears too. How's that, John? Okay. That's something, yes. So the Pesach refers to the slaughtering performed between the evenings on the 14th for the meal eaten at the start of the 15th day. The meal is eaten at the beginning of a set-apart gathering, the first day of 7 days of unleavened bread. And remember, the threat is you are cut off from your people if you don't participate in Passover. If you don't, I forget where it actually says that, but there's consequences. Like I said, there's blessing and curses for the way the Father wants his people to behave. But besides that first day, the 7th day is also a set-apart gathering, a Mikra Kodesh, a holy convocation. And that convocation part means reading, calling together, and you're to do no servile work. If I'm correct, that Kodesh is holy, the Mikra, the convocation, I believe this is where it talks about the how's it go in the Greek within the church in the wilderness, or the, do you know what I'm talking about, Jared? Yeah, I was hearing something and I didn't actually research it myself. So, but I believe this is actually the term, the church in the wilderness. In the Septuagint, in Greek, is where the word for ecclesia. Yeah, ecclesia. So this is the first time ecclesia is used, and the church says that's where they come from. The ecclesia, they are the church. Well, this is the first use of church according to this Greek Septuagint, which we could look up, but. Wendy? Mikra, I would have to, I should have actually researched it better, but I thought it was, does anybody have a Septuagint? We can look it up. It is 13. Yeah, actually, so no, I'm quoting out Leviticus there. This is the assembly talked about in the Torah portion itself. I heard it on the way up, and it sounded really interesting, and I need to get my facts right so I can present it correctly. But the first time ecclesia is used is in the first 5 books of Moses. It's called ecclesia, and it's talking about a congregation, and I think it's referring to the congregation in the wilderness. So, but that's the same word that's used in the New Testament when it talks about the congregation, which is where the church says we are the church.
If you read in Acts where Stephen is giving his speech, he mentions the congregation in the wilderness.
Okay.
That's reference to the same group that you're reading about.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Just the idea that this division between synagogues, between gatherings, it's a holy convocation, a set apart day, a group of people called together for a specific purpose. It started way back then, and this is what we base everything on today. And it is unified and joined. I mean, there's been a lot of division over the history, but we are one when it comes from all that. Anybody have stuff that they found out of the Torah portion? Like I said, it's really kind of good to walk over those rules for the Passover. There is so much in every one of these. I mean, I'm just trying to pick out some stuff to kind of skim it so we get a general understanding of what it is, and that's the whole beauty of doing the cycle over and over again. You're going to get more detail and go into more depth. And he's saying that after 8 plagues. Yeah. Yeah, but the subtext is those two powers, the battle that we even see today. You can call it physical, spiritual, you can call it, but if you're not being father-led, if you're not being, there's a world system out there that's in competition. Obedience and blessing. Let Marie say something, and then we'll come back.
Yeah, Marie, go ahead.
Right, and you can see his wisdom in the fact that, yeah, he showed that strength, but if that was all he showed them, look at the fear that would have crept in. Look at if we weren't told how to behave, if we weren't brought to Mount Sinai and given that covenant and given what he expects of his people, you would always be on edge. You wouldn't know at any moment he could be upset, like the gods they had back then. At any moment he could be upset and change his mind on a whim and wipe it out. That's what's so nice about his consistency and leading us and teaching us and allowing us to grow in it. Eugene, and then back to Dennis. And even Moshe, when he talked back, what did the Father do? He gave him Aaron. He gave him support. So he was able to strengthen him where he needed. He still wanted him to accomplish the job he needed, and he provided what he needed for that job. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the truth. It's His word and His message. Sorry, Julie? Yeah. Yeah. Wendy? That's what I was saying. That system, Pharaoh looking at Moshe and Aaron, he saw as slaves, whereas that's how the world views anybody who wants to be under that covenant. Yeah, Moshe?
Two things I found Ecclesia.
Okay.
Ecclesia is Deuteronomy 4:10. That's the first time. And then there's several times that mention the assembly. That's where the word Ecclesia.
Okay, I had that way off then. I was attributing it a little too early.
Yeah, no, but still, it's right there in
Yeah.
the Torah for sure. But there's many other passages that is very clear. That is awesome. I didn't think about that. Another thing is when you're talking about the people from the land or no from the land or the people to the land. Think about this. The Hebrew has been in Egypt for 430 years. These people probably have no idea what the land is.
Right.
I mean, they have heard of it, but they have never seen it. They haven't been around at this point more than 80 years of slavery, whatever it is. So who is native? It's like, again, goes back to the seed of Abraham.
Right, yeah.
This time it's like, oh no, yeah, I'm an Israelite. But it's like, no, I mean, I guess not yet. You're going there. You're going to the land, but it's like you're still a Hebrew. You still have to come. And it's part of who is who. This
Yeah.
time it's like the Egyptians. Come on, I mean, even then the Hebrews at the time in Goshen had the option to say, you know what, I'd rather stay here. I don't want to go anywhere.
Exactly, yeah.
But they have to make that decision. That's to go with the Elohim.
Marie? Sure, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, the familiar versus God's family. And we might hold on to the familiar even though we're called to be His family. Dennis?
put